Welcome to another RES Wave update. Okay, so in this video, I'm only going to talk about the start of Wave C. The Wave C that's going to take us to $55. So by now, you may have seen a lot of previous XLM videos. So if you haven't seen them, check them out because they'll give you the rest of the picture and the larger picture view. But just for this quick update, I just want to speak about what's currently going on here. The break of the start of wave E, where the magenta line is, that's an indication already that we're about to see higher prices. Okay. So we've seen wave 1 and 2. Wave 2 was expanded, and wave I, which is the next, it's basically wave 1 of 3 coming, incoming. Well, technically these should, you know what? I'm just going to change these labels just to make it easier to understand what I'm talking about here. So I'm just going to change these to the green. I usually use green when we're talking about wave 3. Okay, I can use the eyes when we start to see higher prices. So it'll just make it easier to explain. So wave 2, the blue wave 2 was expanded to the upside. The green wave 1 hit roughly around the resistance area of the previous high, and then we saw a correction. Now, this correction has been fluctuating around this area, and as you can see, I have not changed my view on what this correction is. So we see the A, the B, the C, the D, the E. So that means that we must be in the first stages of the third of a third wave. Okay, so let's go to the 15-minute chart and let's talk about what we need to see. So once again, I'm going to pull out the magenta line for this wave D. Okay, so that means that we need to see a break of this high to confirm that the third of the third wave is in progress, right? Now, it doesn't really matter how choppy this looks at the small degree because, like I've mentioned many times, when you go to the larger degree, this looks like just one big candle. So it's got nothing to do with how choppy it is. It's more about what's going on within the pattern. Okay. So what I'm seeing here is let's put it like this. Green wave I, so that's 1. We had a sharp wave 2. So all of the corrective patterns that, the RES wave set of corrective patterns is likely contained in a sharp manner, which makes it look impulsive. I do not believe this is a 3-wave move. This is just a very common thing with sharp corrections. And then what we're seeing is another 5-wave move, right? So we're seeing a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4 in progress, and then we're going to get a 5. Okay. So what that means is that, to put it bluntly, there's going to be a set of 1-2s going on, and we're going to see another one when we hit this high. Let's give that a different color to indicate what I'm talking about. Right. So to recap, this is 1, 2, 3, and then 4 is in progress right now. And then we're going to see a 5. And then the correction might bounce around this area temporarily, right? because we're going to be dealing within two very specific support and resistance like areas. Now, once we see that happen, right, that's when we're going to get a smaller wave 2, and then we're going to get a move to the upside, right? Because this thing needs to turn impulsive, and it has to start happening very soon. Okay, if you want to look at it in terms of like a pattern, like if you're into patterns, then it's kind of like an inverted head and shoulders pattern. Right? It's like this, right? Like this and like this. Right? Now, if you want to be more specific, we'd be looking at kind of like that's the neckline, right? So once we break above that neckline, there'll be a bit of a correction and then a continuation to the upside. Okay. So that's what I feel is going to happen. I'm still mega bullish. Remember, the target is $55. I wouldn't blame you if you got out halfway or even at $50, because if you don't know the waves 100% and you start to see parabolic move and you start to make good money, you're going to want to take profit. This is normal. This is human behavior, and we're seeing it unfold right before our eyes. So that's what I think the significance of these moves is, because basically we're creating the V-shaped recovery, and then it's just going to keep going higher. Okay. So assuming that this count is correct, and we have seen, if I just go out to the hourly chart, if we have seen the 1, 2, 1, 2, it's just going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, like that. It's just going to keep going higher. Okay. And just to go back to what we're looking at, can you see even my choppy waves at the low degree look like an impulsive move, which is what happens, right? And it could be even more impulsive as we move higher, which is probably the case on our way to the $55 area. Okay, you could see a bit of a correction before we hit the target. Okay, but wave 3s are the longest. If you don't believe me, go back to wave A and have a look at the middle part of this move, right? Look at this wave 3 here. Look how sharp that is. Okay. Now we're dealing with a wave C here. So wave Cs are the killer waves. If you've never heard that term before, look up the term killer wave Cs in markets, right? They can be sharp. Now, normally they're more sharper when I suppose in markets that are displaying a lot of weakness, but in this case, we have a market that has an expanded D wave. So it's going to show a lot of strength. It's in line with the Dow Jones idea. It's in line with basically heading towards the bottom of the US dollar, which also means we're heading for the top of the euro. And then we're going to see the reaction to the downside, but we're not going to talk about that here. The main goal here is to talk about how we're going to see this actually go up and create the zigzag that will look like this. Okay, simple as that. It doesn't matter about this because it's all part of the B wave. Once you learn Arias wave, you understand that the B wave contains the same waves as any other correction. It's not a big deal. It's just about identifying them looking for the evidence that you're correct, and then moving forward from there. Now, if I come up with any other things along the way that could potentially change this view, of course, I'll keep you updated. But at this point in time, there is no change in the view. I cannot see anything that will change this view, especially when you consider what's going on in the broader markets. And we're heading towards the top of a mania bubble that is basically going to be pretty epic. But for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Wave E will correct the imbalances of the previous 4 waves of the correction. And that in turn will basically set up support for the next bull market that will happen after that. So we're in a bear market rally. You can still make money off it. And when you do, I've already mentioned it, you need to put that profit into USDT stablecoin until all of the volatility in that crash is over, and then carefully make wise decisions as to where you will put your profits into which coins. And obviously you need to do your due diligence, which is why I recommend my program, because if you know where to do it, how to see it, how to recognize the patterns, not only is it going to make it far more easier for you to not lose money, it's also going to basically tell you when you shouldn't get into a market. Because if we're already halfway to the top, if we're already most of the way to the target, and you decide to get in at, say, let me go to the daily chart to show you this, right? Let's say you decide to get in to the market around here because you see that this is going up, and then you think, okay, this is going to keep going because I'm a smart investor. Well, you're going to see something like not all the way up there, probably down here like this. Okay, the crowd is always wrong. This is just very normal in waves. If you bought cryptos down in March 2020, have you sold? How did you know where to sell? And how do you know how far it's going to go? What's your tactics? And what's your methodology? And that's exactly what RES Wave does. It has a set of rules, a framework in which you can create, measure your targets, aim for those targets, take your profits. If the market goes above that, it doesn't matter. It doesn't fit with your criteria. Therefore, you're out. You take your profits, right? Now, my target is $55, but I might decide to get out a little bit earlier than that. And there's no harm in doing that, right? The worst thing you can do is try to hold on when something's doing this, because you don't know how far that's going to drop, right? Now, I'm not saying it's going to drop that far. I have made videos where I sort of try to give you an idea where that's going to drop to, but there's a certain few things that you need to be watching for when that particular E wave occurs. For example, what kind of E wave is it? Is it a straight, sharp 5-wave move? Is it a slow, grinding type 1 weak wave E? Is it a type 2 weak wave E? Or is it just something so sharp that will shake everyone out of the markets and create the fear where people don't want to buy, yet it'll be the best buying opportunity that you can get, especially if you've made profits and put them aside? So this is what I do. So far, my customers are very happy because they know they have a framework to work with. They're doing their studies, they are learning the principles, and it will help them make better decisions and choices in the future to try and avoid catastrophic losses, which can happen quite easily when you're basically trading blindly, right? Because unless you know exactly what the waves are doing, how do you know where the target will be, right? That's why I hear a lot of people say, oh, how can you justify $55? That's crazy. Well, just imagine, right? You were down here at one point, right? Where it was 0.006. And if someone told you, oh, this is going up here to like 92 cents, you'd be thinking, that's crazy. How could that ever happen so quickly? That might take years to happen. But yet it happened. And you didn't know about it, and you didn't capitalize. And if you did capitalize by luck and you held on, well, then you got all this, right? Did you know that you were supposed to count 5 waves up and know that things don't go up forever? Or were you smart and you knew that and you said, okay, when I see 5 waves up, I'm expecting a correction. And until I see a complete correction, I'm not going to get back in. So yes, you can make money guessing. Yes, you can make money through luck and because you have hope and because you believe in something, because you like the use case and utility. That's fine, right? But hope is not an investment strategy. Hope is simply emotions, right? Because you can ask anybody what their hopes and dreams are, and I bet you'll get a different answer from basically everybody. Okay. I try to give it to you in a logical, concise manner. I have a program that does that for that particular reason. So even if you do see something crazy like this go up, right? Right? You know why it's doing it, and you also know that you need to get out rather than thinking or planning your next vacation or home purchase or Lambo, right? You should be thinking about how you can capitalize on that move for the next move that happens after the next move down happens, right? It's a game. It's literally a game, right? I'm sure you played Mario when you were younger, right? I'm sure that you went through the level and you died a few times, and then you went back and you played again and you didn't die at that one point, but then you kept going a little bit further and then you died again before you hit the end of the level, right? That's the same thing when it comes to waves. It's a process of elimination. It's all about experience. It's all about learning the waves, right? So learning the waves is like learning that Mario stage. And the beauty of it all is waves repeat all the time and they create the same pattern. Yes, not all patterns look the same, but they produce the same waves, right? And every single correction has a correction within a correction, whether it be an A, whether it be a B, a C, a D, and E. Every correction has a correction within a correction that is in the opposite direction of the direction of the correction, right? It's this conundrum where you really have to have an open mind and you have to see it literally on a diagram to understand it. Because if you don't, then trying to visualize it, trust me, you'll do that for days. But during that process, you'll be also wasting a lot of money because whilst you're doing your research, you're also going to be wanting to make money. So you're going to be having a lot of confirmation bias cloud your judgment during that R&D testing process, right? And I've been through that. I went through all of that. I wasted tons of money, but I was so determined that even when I lost, basically went to zero, I didn't care. I was so interested in figuring out what was going on that I would literally muster up every penny that I could to keep going, to keep trying, to keep my focus, to keep going, right? And right now, here we are, 6, 7, 8 years later, and I'm producing these videos, and I'm producing them for a reason. So soon I'll have some testimonials up on the website to prove that people are actually learning from this stuff. And I hope that you can join us on the journey. So hopefully you found this video interesting and informative. Thank you for watching.